guest today, which I introduced a little bit earlier, is Michael DeSecco. And Michael is from the Northeast. He's from the Boston area. He's been with FFL now. I'll let him tell a story. But what impressed me most about Michael, super hard worker, really consistent with his schedule. He systematized a lot of things that allows him to work consistently and sell a lot of insurance. He didn't always have the persistency that he does today, but he's going to talk to you about some of the changes that he's made. He's going to walk us through a lot of his process and how that works and how he's able to get in front of, every 30 minutes, every day, a whole bunch of people each and every day of the week. And he's able to sell Hall of Fame level production. He's really close to Hall of Fame for this year. So we're rooting him on, and he would have done that 100% over the phone. So I know that's really interesting to a lot of y'all. So that's why we had Michael on here. So let me see if I can stop sharing my screen. And all right, Michael, can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes. All right, everybody. So this is Michael. Say
Thank you for
hi.
having
Well,
me.
not everybody can say hi because they're muted. So, Michael, tell us a little bit about your story and how you got started with FFL.
Yeah. First off, thank you very much for having me on here. It's an honor and a privilege. So I turned 41 on Thanksgiving, coming up. And how I got in the industry, I'm very candid. You're gonna you're gonna learn this very quickly. I think very upfront. And I live in a world of recovery. So when I got my feet settled years and years ago, somebody gave me a shot at a local farmers agency. And I went P&C World First. It's actually where a little bit of this retention thing comes from, because P&C is retention, retention, retention. And I actually live in Uncasville, Connecticut. Corporate is about 5 seconds this way, where Sean had set up shop in Uncasville, and known him for quite a while. He coached my son's baseball team, and I actually saw when this whole IMO started, and he asked at that point if I wanted to sell some life insurance. I probably should have said yes. But I wasn't ready at that point. But I got into insurance by working at a local farmers and putting up 50, 60 policies a month, wondering why I was making like $3,000 and what is going on. I'm making this person a whole lot of money and I'm not making any. So walked across the street and talked to Sean, and now we're here.
Nice. So, was that the original office in Gales Ferry?
No, it's this is the one in Uncasville, like the new one, the one they built, all the corporates there, the podcast
Yeah.
studios. It's you've probably been there.
I'm trying to think of where the pharmacy is in connection to that. But
It's
yeah, across the street.
Cumberland Farms. It's like diagonal. You can hit it with a driver if you're good off the tee.
That is so awesome. Um, so I mean, you decided to get started, and really, what year was that? Do you think, Michael?
So it was actually right after COVID. I quit farmers and essentially was about to take my life test, and everything got shut down. So I was all I did was watch FFL for the entire length COVID lasted until we could go out and be normal again. But I started June 13th. I think what year is that? Is that 2020? 2020. Yeah. And at first I just went in and I walked around the office. Everybody gave me old leads, and I just parked my butt in an office and dialed and dialed and dialed and got hung up on. I basically went your traditional way. I just shut up, listened, and did what everybody told me to do. And after a couple of weeks, grabbed a couple sets of game time leads, and from there I was pretty much on and rolling. And then my life situation at that point hadn't really let me go full time. This is the first year. 2023 is the first full-time year with no distractions, a game plan, a schedule, a staff, and it's imperative to have things. We can all wing it, right? Like especially if we're in the field, we're flying around like crazy, like it's mayhem. We've become very good at just making things work on the fly, but dialing it all in and really focusing and dedicating hours and hours and hours a day to perfecting what you have. Every day one is a blessing, but every day two, this agency gets stronger. And we have something pretty special going here. So I'm super pumped for 04. Right now I'm just, or 2024. Right now I'm just focused on that red jacket. That's like an internal box that I just need to check from where I was at one point in my life. I lived behind a 7-Eleven. That's the story. So I just need to do that. And then 2024 is going to be all about growth.
I love it. Yeah, you're right. I mean, when you're in the field, you can kind of wing it, but the amount of preparation to put something in place like what you work every day, I have noticed that that is something we actually need to focus on, is actually,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
being prepared. To
Yeah.
set the perspective, about how many families have you helped so far for the year, do you think?
Ooh, probably like 380, 390, close to 400.
Okay, you're
I'm
getting
right
there.
there. We're right there.
Okay. Um, so talk us through what a typical week looks like to write that type of production. How do you, if there were parameters that you look at to know whether or not the week would be good, like like you have a good week and you go back and you put it all together and you're like, that was a good week because of these things, what has to be in place for you?
Yeah. So first thing is mindset. Period. Right. Like it's everything. Going back to the world of recovery, like if you're going to set out and I hope you don't mind me talking about stuff like that, but I'm very candid
Of
about
course
it
not.
because you can't have an ego. You've got to be very willing. You've got to have honesty with yourself. You've got to have patience, humility, which is huge to me in sales. You have to be able to tell on yourself. You have to be able to know, your faults and your weaknesses. And then a big part about, this is self-discipline. And that's where it took me pretty much the back half of last year to really get my schedule like blocked off and follow it. You could make a pretty schedule every night and your week looks great, but you have to follow it for it to actually work, right? So the change from in homes to in my home was that was the biggest, I guess, hurdle was, you know, I hate doing laundry, but like laundry looks good to do sometimes when you're working from home. It's just, it's a fact. I'm a single dad. I got two sons, so I got laundry to do. But what I need to see is, so I have two of the best admin slash appointment setters on planet Earth. I'm blessed to have them. I could not be doing this without them because they feed the schedule. So you mentioned Aaron Meredith earlier. All right. Aaron and Matt, I grew up with both of them. They're my two best friends. I was probably the second person or third person on the platform. And Life Agent Launch, if anybody's listening, these are the leads. Part of the retention aspect of this as well is the lead. And I have a pretty solid budget daily running right now, and I need the girls basically to have 100 plus leads going into just Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then the leads are still going. So I have Chrissy dial from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. and then Tammy comes in at 2 and she dials till 8. So we get all time zones all day long, and we use phone burner. So for separate agents, they have our platform. They have all of their folders and set up in phone burner. I load everybody's leads up and they get in there and they just hammer away. And I have to block out my own personal time. And when you're blocking every half hour, obviously, like we get no-showed and stuff like that, obviously, especially over the phone, but you still have to block time off to ensure, like, if everybody does pick up in a 3-hour stretch, you're toast. You know what I mean? You're mentally, you got to back off for a little bit. Take the dog out, go get a drink, something. So what I like to see every day is 12 to 18 scheduled appointments. We're going to hit our numbers. Would I like it to be 18 every day? Yes. But just like everybody says, and putting numbers in your favor in our business it's basically everything. It's everything. You have to put your numbers, or the numbers in your favor. And is it scary at the lead budget I have every day? Sure. But if it's producing the amount of leads and business and self books and you know what I mean, then I'm not going to touch it, and my process, you'll see, I'm very unorthodox. What works for me may be entirely, foreign to some people. And I have a lot of relatability with people. I can relate to just about anybody on the phone. And I think that's what allows me to just have a genuine conversation with these people. And I know insurance. So if we have 12 to 18, 6 days a week, 7 days a week, sometimes my weekends, I'll just leave little blocks and it's full. And if I have stuff to do, or if I've got stuff going on with the family, and I open up a 5-hour block, I know it's going to be full. So I know that I can go do whatever I got to do. And then when it's time to sit down and, knock out appointments, they're going to be there, with everything running the way it is. Like this morning, I woke up, I woke up at 5, but the day started appointment wise at 8:30, and I'm already one husband and wife in, and I've got another block of 10 appointments after this. So.
Okay. So weekly, how many days a week do you typically run that schedule?
If there's nothing major going on, every day.
Okay.
Every day.
And then as far as dialers, where did you find Chrissy and your other dialer? People
Yeah.
always ask
So,
that.
the woman who does like our parks and rec for, sorry, I saw a message pop up, 200 to 300 a day for my lead spin. She was like the right hand to the park and rec director. And she was like, I always tell her that she's very psychotic about how perfect everything needs to be. And that's exactly why I wanted her. And she's a great human being, for one. She's great on the phone. I just had to show her like what we do, that we help families, like what we do, when we pull people out of some guaranteed issue, whatever they picked up, and we save them money, and now their family's actually safe if something happens to them. People enjoy that feeling. And then she brought her best friend in. So, and now I'm going to hire the best friend's daughter to do live transfers for us all day.
Nice.
So, they're not virtual assistants. I pay them, like I give them what they deserve. It's imperative to me. I can get on some of my calls. They're screened. The husband and wife, for instance, I just talked to, I didn't even sell that. Chrissy did. They were already ready to go after talking to her. And that's priceless stuff right there. Not every call is like that, obviously, but yeah, so they were local. She was local. She's been a friend of the family forever. And I knew I was going to ask her probably beginning of 2022. End of 2021. but I waited a little bit because I had to get the telesales thing just like up and going. You know, if you jump at things too quick in this, it can take you out very, very quick. Paying staff too early, or you know, creating your leads, or trying to reinvent the wheel, essentially, right? Like you got to be ready to take things on, following some of the people that have built.
So what would be your advice for somebody new? Because a lot of people are hearing this, they're like, man, I just started dialing. Like, I don't know if I can give me a couple dialers and a you know or whatever else. Like, how do you get people to start now? And then what's kind of what were the stepping stones for you to get as efficient as you are now? What were some of the major um, major markers
I
in the road, I should say.
Yeah, I have a huge one. I was in a toxic relationship, essentially. That was the biggest stepping stone for me. When that cleared and got out, and I could actually run with it, and you know, actually live up to my capabilities. So you know, all of us, you know, whether we have husbands, wives, friends, this, that, whatever, you can't brawl out with your fiance walking into an in-home. Like you're wasting your time, essentially. Like you're not going in with the right mindset. And you know, for a while that's the way I was living. Once we got past that, all of this has kind of blossomed. That was really the only major stepping stone. Everything else is on me. I gotta work, I gotta sharpen my axe, I gotta, you know, train and put the work in. um Advice would be, I always say that telesales is like walking into the job fair and just asking where the hardest job is, right? Like telesales is not easy. It's not for everybody. It's draining. It's not physically draining, which I'm super blessed and grateful for, but uh you know, you go through some crazy phone calls, and everybody on the phone now is so guarded, especially right now in particular with Medicare and every, like their phones are absolutely, if you're in the final expense market, their phones are nonstop all day long. So it's like, how do you, one of 100, set yourself apart from all the other people? When that person who answers, their wall is completely up and you've got to chip away at it. Um, you know, that's where we have a motto. It's called professionally blunt, which is basically like the way I honestly, I talk like this like all the time. And it's probably a bad thing sometimes, but it's how on the phone, I think authenticity on the phone is one of the biggest things you can have. Even if you're very authentic and the person trusts you, you could probably lack in the underwriting department and get by because they like you and you're authentic, and everybody else wasn't authentic to them, right? So if I could give advice, I would start in the field and run at least 100 appointments prior to even thinking about getting on the phone. And I think when we all ran in the field, we ended up pulling over on the side of the road and took a call, and, you know, somehow knocked the policy out from the laptop or tablet or whatever, but that's not what this is, right? So um, the last in-home appointment I went on, I drove 2.5 hours for a no-show, essentially. And I went home a day after. I set up like 16 different live transfer companies. I blew every dollar I had, and I did like 10 grand for my recliner. And I was like, I'm never leaving my house ever again, ever again. And we went that way, but I wouldn't have been able to do that without having all of the experience from the field. You
Right.
have to have it. You have to have it because you can't. I know some agencies, and I would actually, you know, I want to take notes and learn from anybody who can give me any type of pointers, because seeing someone hit 200K in a month, like I'm trying to fathom that if that were me, and just the schedule and for the amount I do. But um, I want to be able, I totally forgot where I was going with that. Um,
You
totally
you try to
lost
take
track.
away from you try to take away from everyone when you sit down and really learn from everybody. And
Oh yeah, going into the field. Yeah, you have to go into the field first before you ever try to start telesales. I lost where I was going.
Yeah. Well, and I can relate to that because, a lot of the big challenges that people have are just the EAP, the technical issues, you know, that type of thing. If you're with somebody, you can
Oh,
sit there another hour and it's okay. But on the
right.
phone, you don't get any grace at all.
That's what I was gonna say. In home, you can call your upline. Some organizations can, I my son does this now. He's 19, he's licensed, and for his first telesale, he called me and he's like, Dad, can we three-way in? And I like three-wayed in with the guy, and we had a good conversation with him. He loved my son. But that's not normal, at least not for me. I would like to figure out a way to maybe implement that, but we're all on the phone all the time, and we can see each other, and we're there over Zoom listening, and we can help each other that way, which has been the best way so far to help out. But you need to be in a home, having that little nice lady make you a ham sandwich, and you know sell policies that way, and screw up on the e-apps, and you have to do that before ever going and to telesales.
It definitely shortens the learning curve. That's for sure. And it
That's right.
definitely eases some of the growing pains from it. So when you do get somebody on the phone, Michael, like let's say I'm in an appointment with you. I'm 65 years old, I'm looking for some final expense coverage. Your assistant has set it up, you call me, like how does that process typically go?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very, first and foremost, our pickup ratio off of self books is right around 50%. Our pickup rate from Chrissy and Tammy is closer to like 65, 70, which is pretty good. And I have them at this point, they do a very quick underwrite. Like they ask the majors, like COPD, congestive heart failure, cancer, all that stuff, because I want to know. But it's very simple. I just let them know who I am, what I do. This process is going to be very simple, transparent, and forward. We're here to help your family. This is the last gift you're going to leave your family. This is the last line of defense that your family has from diving into bank accounts or doing GoFundMe funerals. And we've got to get it right. Right. So we've got to get this right, because, can't fix it when you're dead. And then I'll do my own underwrite. So part of the retention thing I wanted to talk about was, it's in the underwriting. And I think this is where I'm a little unorthodox than a lot of people. Like, I trust in my underwriting. I'm a nerd when it comes to underwriting. And my philosophy behind this is, if you're the doctor, they're the patient for real in the conversation, and they're not, jerking your chain with their health, because you can call people out. People can lie to us all day long, and it still happens. But if you can get a good underwrite, my philosophy is write the policy that 100 out of 100 agents could call that person. And even if the person wanted to switch, they couldn't, because they're in the best policy for them, whether it's rate, whether it's qualification, whatever it may be. Just know that no one else can step on that policy, essentially, from wherever it comes, because people shop. I don't see the value in putting a policy in place because the phone call was super fast, because the process was super easy. But there could be a potential for a rewrite, or they didn't trust you, or whoever, whatever happens for the chargeback. So my last chargeback was a month and a half ago, and the guy sent me like a long text apologizing to me. We don't get chargebacks like that, like he was sorry for not doing this. So it's in the underwriting. To me, we all want to get everybody immediate day one coverage. And if you're the agent that's willing to sit there and sift through, X amount of applications to get them that coverage, it sticks. Plain and simple, you know. So I don't pre-qualify before showing numbers. I trust in my underwriting and show numbers. And then, you know, if I feel it's an Aetna, we go Aetna and they get declined, I will dig maybe a little bit more and I will knock, you know, at that point, I'm either going to Prosperity or Americo. So it's like, just trying to really dig into the person. Plus they understand that you care. If you're not just trying to rip through the call because you got 50 other calls that day, or you're worried about selling 2 or 3, worry about the family on the phone as much as you would yours, and find their solution, or find their problem, and find the solution to it with the best available plan out there, so that nobody can call up and step on it. That's the biggest thing personally for me for the retention.
Can we role play some? I'll actually just be a client, and we'll just kind of talk through some of the sometimes it's hard to spend time with the people on the phone because they want to rush you. Like, how do you get them to slow down? And so call me and just pretend like, I don't know, I'm a final expense lead from Facebook.
All right.
Let's try.
Ring ring.
Hello?
Trey,
Yes,
this is Mike DeSecco. How you doing today?
I'm good. Mike, how are you?
I'm excellent, man. I appreciate you asking. So I have you on my schedule for a very quick call. Essentially, I'm an agency dedicated to folks who are looking for coverage to cover final expenses, maybe leave a legacy, or buy their spouse some time, some mortgage payments. Is now still an okay time for a call?
Yes,
All right, perfect. So let me just verify a couple things. I have your birthday as 11/23/82.
that's me.
All right, and then it says here you were in the Army. Is that correct?
Yes, I was. No, I was in the
Nice.
Marines. I actually was in the Marines. I can't do that.
All
I
right,
tried. I tried to
so
role
there
play.
you
I can't
go.
role play
So
that hard.
what'd you do in the Marines?
I fixed radios, actually.
All right, all right. Well,
Which that's just a fancy way of saying I carried the radio around.
all conversation aside today, thank you very much for your service. So, if there's anybody who should be guided properly and transparently through the process of protecting their family, it's you guys, it's veterans, and we're here to do that for you. So, if you could really quick, just give me a quick rundown. What has you searching for coverage in the first place?
Um, well, I don't have anything right now. I know that uh, my uncle just passed away, and they didn't have anything, and it was really hard for the family to come up with the money to bury him. The funeral was super expensive. Um, just he wanted to be buried in Mississippi, so the fact that they had to get his body back there and all these things that occurred, it was really it was just a lot more to it than I realized, and I don't want to do that to my wife if anything were to happen, and I really don't think I have enough to have anything covered, and we don't have like a ton of money in the bank, so
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
what I'm most
I
concerned
hear
about.
you, man. I hear you. I appreciate you sharing that with me. It's terrible sometimes when we get reminded to do these things when we've got to go through it ourselves. If you don't mind me asking, it's a small personal question. How much did his service cost you?
$13,000.
All right, so just real quick, when I asked that because I want to know, one, where we're going to start and where they're going to start, and then two, I want to know like kind of what they're thinking in terms of just coverages in general. So I don't like to be rude when we drop numbers, but all right. So when we go through this process, it's very simple. We're going to run through it very quick. I need to get a quick gauge of your health. Now, I know you talked to Chrissy and they went over some basics. I need to hear it for myself. This is you and I building some trust between each other. Product is never an issue on our end. Any transaction is basically made with trust between two parties, and you've got to trust me and I've got to trust you here that you're giving me the proper information, and you got to trust me that I'm going to do right by your family. So, do you have, and I'll just list the majors, right? Let's say you go through and you're diabetic and you're on some lisinopril or amlodipine. It's like, all right, man, very, very basic. Just like every other American right now in this crazy country, we're all on blood pressure meds. Have you started to look yet? Like, what's your process been like? Have you flipped through all the AARP Globe Life flyers that we get carpet bombed with in our mailboxes? Because let's face it, life insurance is probably the most important coverage to have. It's also probably the worst to shop for. There are a lot of pushy salespeople. There are a lot of incompetent salespeople who are commission hungry, and you guys deserve to essentially have the process done right. So the good old 995 guy, he's handsome and all, but coverage doesn't cover you for 2 years. And we want to see if we can get you immediate day one coverage, which is generally cheaper anyways. And if he says, oh yeah, well, I don't know what you would say to that, but if you check out all the
Yeah.
flyers.
Yeah, I get a ton of stuff, AARP, and Globe, and all that stuff, and I've even called in on a few of those things, and the price that it ends up at isn't necessarily the price on the flyer, and it's hard to navigate it all,
Yeah,
for
and
sure.
first and foremost, I would like to just say this: life insurance should never be bought off of price. So what we were not seeing there when you called into these places is that if you don't speak to an underwriter who has access and licenses to all the carriers in the states, you can't put day one coverage in place. Anything that you fill out in the mail, Mutual of Omaha, AARP, any flyer that you fill out, you're going to put yourself right into a 2-year wait. Now, it's very, very appealing because you don't have to talk to anybody, which is great. But life insurance is confusing. Again, going back to the beginning, you need to get it right. It's probably the last coverage you're ever going to be put in place, right? So we can't have this thing drop us at age 80. We can't have the price go up every 5 years. So we're going to put something in place that's immediate day one. Price never changes. Policy never expires. It'll gain some cash value. That's not why we're doing it. But in a couple of years, if you want to go nuts for Christmas or you pop a couple of tires on the truck, hypothetically, you could grab it from your insurance policy. That all make sense to you?
Yes.
Okay. All
Yeah, it
right.
does.
So with his being at 13K, let me just dive into the family real quick. Do we still have an active mortgage? This is where you're going to unlock premium, guys. You guys have an active mortgage?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a giant nest egg hidden somewhere where if you were to not show up tomorrow, your wife can, either pay off the mortgage or at least give herself a year, 2, 3 to figure it out?
Yeah, we got a little bit of money in the bank.
Okay.
50 grand, say.
Okay. We don't want to essentially you've been working for that for years and years and years. We're not really thinking about using it for mortgage payments after one of us dies. So what's your mortgage payment monthly? Because here's what I'll tell you, sir. So we want to make sure the equity in your home stays with your family. We want to make sure that asset stays there. Now if we don't have to cover it and there's another alternative, okay. But if we can give your wife 6-8 months of complete peace of mind for burial and mortgage payments so that she can properly mourn you, her best friend of 20 some odd years, that's what we should look at. So we want to make sure the bank is not going to knock on your door and take the equity. They're hoping that you have no buffer and that they can grab your house. So I'm going to start to look at some packages here. Basically what I'm doing is I'm diving in to our system. We have every A-rated carrier in the nation at our fingertips. And generally, I try to stick to the top 4 or 5, which would be Aetna, Aflac, Mutual of Omaha, America, and Prosperity. And Transamerica is up there as well. They're generally the cheapest when we go through toolkits. While this is going on, I've already toolkitted this guy. I've got his quotes up. Everything is here and in front of me. And we're just gonna, run through, and then I'll break down the finances a little bit and get an idea of his budget. So if you're working with veterans and these guys are like 100% disabled, you've got to know that there's at least 4K coming into that person monthly from the VA. Also, if you're going to work with vets, know your vets, know your eras, know your wars. I know this sounds crazy, but this is the attention to detail that has a guy apologize to you when he charges back. So what would you say would be comfortable budget wise, and what bare minimum here do we need to cover? Are you going to be cremated, or are you going to be buried?
Buried.
Okay. So you're a veteran. Are you aware what a national cemetery will cover and do for you if you're eligible to get buried there?
No.
Okay. All right. So I'll send you that guide, but I'll tell you it's helped my family a couple times. They will cover a headstone. They'll cover the opening and closing of a plot. So if you get a basic casket and a basic ceremony, you're probably looking at like $6 to $8 grand. At that point in time, I would probably just look to put 10 in place, just because, like your relative, transportation costs, all this weird stuff pops up. People lose time not working, whatever can step in and help all of this works. So if I go through and work their budget out, I will essentially go throw up their quotes, and essentially it's like, listen, this is immediate day one coverage. I cannot stress that enough. Immediate day one coverage, meaning if you're approved and 20 minutes later you die, no funny business. Your family's going to catch a check, the full check, not a premium that they paid in or something else back. This all makes sense so far before we go look to agree on a package or a number?
Yes, that makes sense.
All right. So I have 10K. It's $65 a month. If you add a double indemnity, which some of the carriers do, it's going to be closer to 70. I'm going to give you a price window. It's going to be 60 to 75 bucks for 10K. The reason why I'm giving you a window is if we try the first carrier and it declines us, we're going to move down the list and it's probably going to bump up a couple bucks, but we're going to try to get you the best rate. 15K is 100 to 115, and 20K is 145 to 160. Have you fallen off your chair yet, or are we within reason? Like, how far off are we here? Or are we in the ballpark?
Yeah, that sounds like that's in the ballpark, sure.
Okay, which policy sounds to you like, which policy gives you in your gut peace of mind knowing that your family will not have to come out of pocket and dive into the 50K? And I probably would have broken it down a little bit more to them, like you can do X amount of payments with your mortgage and stuff like that. But which one sounds to you like it would cover the most?
Yeah, I think the second one. I mean, I could do more than 75, but I don't want to have to do 150.
Right. Okay. So what we'll do is like we'll look at coverages, and if we're in the 70 to 80 range, we're going to see what carrier is going to give us the most coverage out there. And a couple dollars here or there may not seem like a lot to us, but the beneficiary, if we can squeeze in an extra 1,000 or two, it's going to mean a lot to them. Like, that's going to go a long way. So if you're good to go here, is your wife home? Yes, she is. Can you go get her, please? Because we need the boss in here. We need everybody to be on the same page before I even ask or tell you about our application process. And this is where I differ from most, right? So like a lot of people are pre-qualifying and going through, where I will specifically tell them, our application to do this, it's an insurance application, right? We're licensed. We need pertinent information to do this. I get it. We're over the phone. We're 30 minutes into a call. You don't know me, but you've gotten all my credentials. You've seen my website. This is what we love to do. And I'm not going to ask for this information unless you guys are completely trusting in what I do, in my ability to underwrite and find you the proper coverage. Are you guys good with this? Are you on the same page? If they say yes right there, like there are no more objections, there's no social security number objection, there's no banking, you tell them what we need, and we go through and we do the first app.
Yeah. And that sounds great. Shoot, there's a few things. There's a see one of the things that Mike does, and it took me a long time to understand this, especially when you're working with seniors. But seniors have gone through the process of looking at final expense insurance before. So when he
Not
pulls all
just
that
final
stuff out,
expense,
every kind, right?
everything.
So
They've
they've
seen
seen
every
it.
salesperson known to man.
So when he calls all this stuff out, day one coverage, waiting periods, stops at 80, the price goes up every 5 years. They're really smart. They know all that stuff's already happened. So to do that up front, I could just imagine how much trust that actually builds. Because the mistake we make is that we're speaking insurance lingo to people who don't understand it. They do understand it.
Yeah, we have a big emphasis on educating,
Yeah,
advocating and educating. We want to get off the phone knowing we can get referrals and a 5-star review, and that the business is going to stick.
I love that. And then shoot. And the other thing he said was the most important type of insurance to buy, but the worst to shop for. Um, dude, that's so relatable. That's so true.
This is
Um,
where I differ. I think sometimes I say stuff that like my son will look at me and be like, I couldn't say that on the phone. Like I couldn't say that on the phone. But like I'm just being honest with them. Like I truthfully care. Like I'm just being honest, like professionally blunt. That's it.
got it. Um, and it helps too having so many appointments, Mike. Like if it's not gonna work,
Yeah.
how does it end when it's not gonna work? And how do you move on from it? I mean, what are some of the things that'll stop it dead in the process where you're just like, all right, I'm getting off the phone.
Yeah, I tend to try to have conversations that even if there's a no sale, they're appreciating the phone call. If they're not ready or whatever, the wife's not home, you'll always want to try to have whatever the objection is and they're not ready to make that sale. I have a sheet, like an intake sheet that I do.
Mhm.
I fill it out and I send it to them. So I would recommend Samsung tablets. They have a pen and a couple programs. Note Shelf is one of them. I don't know if you can see this. Probably not.
I sort of can, but yeah, I get it. You can write on there.
But it's got my national producer number, name, website. It's got everything on there. And I've probably had 6 or 8 policies written in the last 2 or 3 months off of sending that to them. They go do their due diligence for whatever happened in our conversation, whether I didn't build a rapport, they weren't ready, there was no, no trust. They go back to the sheet, especially if you have the lowest rate on there. I mean, that's what they're after for, or that's what they're out there for. So, the no sales, like I said to you that day, you remember at the conference the day after I had like 20 appointments, I think.
Yeah.
I think I think I had like 3 good conversations that day. And I said that in there, like, you got to go into this knowing that don't look at it like day by day. Look at it over the course of the week, I guess you could look at it, but definitely the month. If you hit your numbers for the month, no matter what days it was all happening, it happens. And the day after, I had like 5 appointments and I sold 4 of them. So there's no rhyme or reason to any of it. It's just the numbers have to be put in front of you to run through. You know, there's no rhyme or reason
Yeah.
to anything that we do in life insurance. It's crazy.
I'm so glad you said that, because everybody tries to put some sort of quantifiable theory behind it. And,
Oh
you know,
God, no.
you, you can do this 100% at home. And if you run 30 appointments, the last 6 might be the ones that buy it. You know, I've had that happen too. So they're not connected. They don't all talk to each other. You know,
No. I do say to them too, I say, if a company is willing to spend millions and millions and millions of dollars to market its product, like AARP, Colonial Penn, Globe Life, the product probably doesn't speak for itself.
ooh, yeah, that's good.
And it kind of hits home. It's like, that's why I am here. This is why I am here.
That's good.
The guy that I spoke with today or the husband and wife I spoke to today, they said we have talked to probably 10 to 12 people. I said, okay, how's that been for you guys? They're like, terrible, terrible. Everybody wants our personal information 5 seconds into the phone call. Nobody cares that we're veterans. I said, do their ads say stuff about veterans? They're like, yep. I said, do they mention the new VA plan that came out at the beginning of the year? Nope. Okay, well, then they're not here for vets. You guys can look that up. The VA put out a new plan, but you know, at the end of the day, they had just had it. And they just, like you just said, they have talked to and seen. You can't take these folks for, you know, for idiots. They're smart. Not all of them, but they're smart. Like, they're smart. And the ones that aren't, you guide and you help, right? So at the end of the day, educate, advocate, and protect the family like it's yours, with a policy that can never be replaced.
Sounds good to me. All right. Well, thanks for spending so much time with us. This has been invaluable. I can't wait to get the recording out to folks. And we probably are going to have Matt and Aaron on one of these so that people can get to know about
Oh yeah, life
Life
agent
Agent
launch,
Launch.
kids. Yep. I'm
It's a
gonna
great
put
system.
my cell phone. Yeah, I'm gonna put my cell phone in the chat. There's
Okay.
13 chats in here, so
Oh, let me see how to.
all right.
Do the one to everyone. And I'll get it. If you guys want to know Mike's thing, we won't record it and put it out there everywhere, but just text me. I'll send you Mike's phone number. Everybody has my phone number, so you put it in there, Mike,
Is
if you can.
there questions? Lead vendor is Life Agent Launch. 2 best friends. I guess I have a little bit of an advantage there, but no, but they're like, Matt and Aaron are so dedicated and smart, and they're both very high level producers. So they know what we need. They know what we need to go do our job properly. And their background prior to me bringing them in, they were gym guys. COVID hit, and you know, we've always done stuff together. God Almighty, man, we used to pop kettle corn, like you name it. Matt, Aaron, and I have done it, and you know, we've always loved the thought of residual income, and we've always wanted to build something special. And they found their niche because their leads they're ridiculous. They're so
Yeah.
good. Now a lead is a lead is a lead. You have to work your lead, guys. You're not going to just
That's
buy
right.
a lead, and they're not going to say, hey, they're not going to text you and say, can you write me a $333 a month move today? It's like, no. You've got to do the work. You've got to do the work. But at the end of the day, they're phenomenal at what they're doing.
I love it. Well, thanks for getting on here, Mike. We really appreciate it. I'll let you. I know you got 10 more appointments. This has been a great call. We'll get the recording up real fast, and we'll talk to you
Man, I
guys
thank
next
you.
week.
I thank you guys so much. I appreciate it, man. Super grateful.
We'll keep up the good work. We're rooting for you.
Thank you.
That's for sure. All right, you guys make it
Happy
a great
holidays.
one. All right, bye bye.